Hi, Tara Doyle Enneking here, the CEO of the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce with a C-Suite podcast today. We love talking to these CEOs, gaining insights and lessons along the way. And I'm very excited today with our guest, Ms. Therese Pasquier, who is the Chief Executive Officer for Sound Family Medicine and one of our board directors here with the Chamber. So I welcome Ms. Therese Pasquier. Hey there! Welcome, Miss Hotel California. Everybody gets a theme song. Very nice. We're both California girls, you know.
I know.
Alrighty, well, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have you here today. So let's just jump in a little bit about the current role you serve and how long you've been there.
Okay. So I'm currently the CEO for Sound Family Medicine, and I've been there 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And but Sound Family has been the fabric of this community for 38 years.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's a real great legacy, and I'm just trying to, continue to grow that and pass it on to the next person when I'm ready to pass it on.
Yes. And so, how did you land at Sound Family Medicine?
Well, I've been in healthcare for, 20 plus years, and it's just really a fun thing. I mean, a great career. I feel like it's a calling because I used to want to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And then the night before my senior year in college, my father passed away. And I just couldn't think about medical school at that time because I have to help my mom, and
yes.
I have 5 siblings.
These impactful
yeah.
things that can happen and definitely change pathways. So
and so I consider it a calling because I love helping people, and I wanted to stay in healthcare. And so I told my mom, I said, I'll go to grad school. If I don't like it, then I'll think about being in the clinical side of medicine. But I love it. So I've been in healthcare for a long time.
Great. Well, let's kind of go back a little bit further.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
So I am originally from Vietnam, and in 1975, at the end of the war there, in fact, most Vietnamese at that time knew that the fall of Saigon was going to happen. And so our families were just waiting for that day. And one night in 1975, my mom and dad woke us up. There were 5 girls in our family, and they basically said, it's time to leave. And we didn't know where we were going.
Wow.
I was almost 10 at the time, and we walk outside of our front door, and there was an exodus of people. So overnight, we became refugees.
Scary.
Just leaving a country because it was so unstable, and we did not want to live under communist rule. And it took us 2 weeks to go down to near Saigon, which is Ho Chi Minh City today.
Okay, yeah.
We went out in the middle of the South China Seas and got picked up by the American ships.
Wow. And so going back and understanding how that all unfolded, are there good, I imagine, some stories?
Yes.
And so were your parents in contact with somebody that was able to orchestrate all of that to happen? Or were you just fleeing literally? And
we just flee.
Wow.
And so it reminds me a lot of what's happening in Ukraine
50 years
right now.
later, you'd think we would not have to be
Still the
dealing
same.
with this.
Yeah. It gives me goosebumps just thinking
too.
about it
Me too.
because it was such a horrifying, deal to not only leave your country and your home, but when we got picked up by the American ships in the middle of the ocean, you're like, where are we going? We have no idea.
No idea.
And so we were picked up and went to Guam, stayed on the military bases there, and then the Red Cross actually helped us to fly over to Camp Pendleton, which is in San Diego, California.
Yeah.
And so
that was your first
that was
landing
my first
spot.
landing in California.
And so how large is your family who's making this trek with you?
So at the time, my parents, my grandmother, and then my 4 sisters, and then my my aunt and uncle, their family, they had 10 kids.
Wow.
So
what a journey.
we landed in Peoria, Illinois, after staying in the camp, and we had to have a sponsor to get into the country legally.
Right.
And this is why immigration is such an important issue for me too. Because you see how it's done right, and it works perfectly.
Right.
Everybody becomes, productive citizens of this great free country.
Yes.
But when it's not done properly, it creates a lot of burden and strain on a system that's already overburdened.
Right.
So
So you ended up in Illinois, and so by trait, what were your parents doing in Vietnam originally, and were they able to kind of carry some of that same trait here?
Yeah. So we came to this country with just the clothes on our backs.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I know. And they were just tradespeople. They owned a little tea farm.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And we also did a lot of manual labor. I mean, Dad was in the Army. That's how he knew that the country was not going to turn out well for us.
Right.
And so he served in the Army most of his life. And my mom, was a mom to 5 kids, and she worked where she can. And it's a very simple life, I'd say. So when they came here, my father worked in our sponsor had businesses that small businesses that would take on someone who doesn't speak the language.
Yeah.
So they started doing little manual tasks like cleaning up a sawmill, and all the electrician stuff.
Yep.
Dad could do some of that. It's interesting, the sawmill story, because I married a man whose family owns a sawmill here in Sumner.
Yeah, where did it get implanted? It was a fortuitous path, carved in stone for you, destiny.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, and so you enrolled in school then in Illinois? At what age were you?
I was almost 10.
Okay.
So I started in 5th grade.
5th grade.
Yeah.
And so what kind of gaps were there? I mean, with language and or no?
I spoke no English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the only words I knew were "you number one." And the reason we say "you number one" is when the Americans, because the village I lived in Vietnam had a U.S. Military station, and anytime a U.S. Army truck would pass by, if we say "you number one" to the soldiers,
yes,
they would throw us candies.
Oh, nice.
So that's all I knew is "you number one."
You're number one.
Yeah.
I like it. Oh gosh. Oh, so you're entering the school and now learning English.
Yeah.
As far as academia, just as far as what you knew knowledge-wise, was it pretty similar? Did you know, or just the whole other language makes it completely different story anyway?
I knew nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really a brand new life.
Wow.
Yeah. So
were you scared? Was it fun, exciting, all of the above?
It was scared. I was totally scared.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 5 kids now, and then my brother's the only U.S. born citizen, and we tease that he could be a president, of the United States.
Yes. Oh, you can't.
But it was very, very new. Everything was new to us. I mean, the first time I saw snow, because when we came to this country, we settled in Peoria, Illinois, and that's very cold.
Right.
And by the time we got to Peoria, it was November.
Yeah.
So remember, we left Vietnam in April.
Right.
And we landed in Peoria in November. So snow and first Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it was just all new.
Yeah. Oh, completely foreign.
Scary. Yeah, but my parents always said, make sure you get the best education, because education's going to carry you to a better life, than we had. And so I literally listened to that, and by the time I finished high school, so remember I started in 5th grade, and I went to Christ Lutheran School. So it was the Christ Lutheran Church was sponsoring our family.
Okay.
And so I went to 8th grade there, and then 9th grade I started in a public high school. By the time I finished high school senior year, I was valedictorian.
Oh my goodness.
Of a class of 300 and
oh my goodness.
some students.
You took it serious.
I did, because that was an opportunity that my parents said, you need to make sure you optimize on this opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, and then so what schooling beyond that? What was next?
So I went to college. I went to Illinois Wesleyan, which is a private school in Illinois. And then after that, I went and got my master's degree in health administration in Chicago. So
okay, but all still in Illinois.
Yeah.
Wow.
All in Illinois. Now, the reason I went out to California was where I wanted to end up.
Yep.
Was because after grad school, there was a fellowship in California with the Department of Health Services in Los Angeles. And it's a brand new program. You get to be a fellow to a shadow to the CEO for a year.
Oh, what a wonderful opportunity.
It was a great opportunity. And I didn't think I would ever get it because I came from a very small, public school for my graduate degree. It was not a brand name kind of school. But I really got involved in the American College of Healthcare Executives at that time. And just that connections, from an early age, I knew about the connections and the people that we make. Because I think in terms of leadership, the ability for you to, build the characteristics of leadership is really about connecting the dot.
Yes.
Right? And leading, anything where you can solve problems and you value the people that you work with,
right?
Because you're only as good as the people around you.
Yes.
And so when I think about leadership, that's what really drives me, is really making it better for the folks around me, so they feel valued, because value equals success.
Hey, we're going to ask you a lot more about your leadership style and sort of where you developed these traits, who mentors might have been. But let's go back to your very first job.
So my very first job was a summer, kind of like a summer internship almost in high school.
Okay.
And it was with the Urban League of Peoria.
Okay.
So
you're already having big girl jobs.
Yeah. Well, at that time they, the community I live in Peoria was very, very diverse. And it was more, I lived maybe a mile away from the projects, if that. And so, living in this community, you see a lot of folks that, could use a hand up.
Sure.
And I went to school with, 50% probably Black Americans. And the Urban League was just so perfect to, support the students who needed that extra work, where they learn about being in employment, learning what really drives them to be good employees. And so I really took that opportunity to learn so much that summer.
Great. So other jobs, what, I don't know, it's always hard to name your most favorite job, and I would assume you'd say this one.
I would.
Good.
I would, because it's like, this one is only like 6 minutes away from my house.
Yeah, oh nice.
It's the first time I ever get to work, within the community I live in, so it's perfect fit.
Okay, so let's talk about your second favorite job.
My second favorite? My second favorite was probably when I was a consultant. In healthcare. So I worked for a boutique consulting firm in Seattle. Okay. And I got to travel to, different states. I went to Alaska for like 6 months straight. And, where you work with just leaders of the organization to do certain projects. So yeah, that was really a fun job.
Nice. Yeah. Any job that you wish you could have just skipped that chapter?
You know what? I learn in every job, whether it's a bad job or, bad manager or whatever, I learn not to be a bad manager.
Yes, right.
So, I think there's one that I probably would say, I don't know if I would have taken it if I had, the opportunity to relook at it today. But what it taught me was that the ability for me to make connections, to bring that organization to a different space. I'll give you an example. It was a very small community clinic in Seattle. It was it was nestled right in the projects up in Seattle. And I was the executive director, so reporting to the board, but really I was the Jill of all trades.
Yes.
Before the board meeting, if they didn't clean up the clinic, I would be like sweeping the floor and, doing things that you need to do to make it done. It's important for you to, be present, and no matter what it is, you get it done because it's needed.
Right.
So I've learned that titles just doesn't drive me, and I learned that from a very young age.
Okay.
So,
and you kind of touched upon this because my next sort of segue into that is talking about a very impressionable boss you might have had, and I don't know if we'll say your favorite boss, but again, one that made a big impact possibly on who you are or your path.
Yeah. I would have to say that was my preceptor, the CEO of Harbor UCLA Medical Center in California.
Okay.
It was in Harbor City, Los Angeles County. And, I was armed with a graduate degree and the title, and I came into this large hospital system, thinking I'm all that.
Okay.
Like, seriously. You're young.
Yep. Oh, you got it all figured out.
Yeah. I mean, I was like 20.
Check this box.
I was
going.
24. I was 24.
Yeah.
And basically, he sat me down one day, and he said to me, and I will never forget this. He goes, "Therese, you have to treat everyone with respect, regardless of their title, even if it's a housekeeper. You never know if that housekeeper one day is going to be your boss."
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so that has stayed with me for 30-something years.
Yep.
And in every job, it's not about the title. It is about who you are and what you bring to the organization, how you make a difference.
Yeah, and there's two things with that. I know, the fact that he spoke to you in such a candor is often what I guess garners the most respect.
Yes.
It's great to have cheerleaders and those that support you for sure.
Right.
But really the ones that you trust, that are giving you the honest feedback, that are the ones that really help us grow.
Absolutely.
And
his name was Ed Foley.
Well, let's say Ed
Yes.
Foley. I know it, Ed Foley. Wait a minute. Oh, that's nice.
I'm very thankful to Ed. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's long retired now.
How long was he your boss? Or
just the 1 year.
Just the 1 year.
Yep. And then I became an associate administrator down in Los Angeles County, and again, at a young age where I had directors who were much older than me reporting to me, and so I needed to learn about leadership and about leading, folks, and it's not for me. The people that that are true leaders are the one that let others shine.
Yes. Oh,
You know what I mean?
and we're learning that more and more now. It is what's taught in leadership. It's no longer leadership by dictatorship.
Right.
It's how do we develop leaders around us.
Yes.
And giving them those wings is what is most gratifying.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing more and more of that, I think. So what are your leadership styles?
I would say I'm very collaborative. And
oh yes, your Rolodex is robust. I know that. I get the benefit of a very nice Rolodex that you have.
It's like I always am a friend. And so the folks that I work with now, they're great leaders. And my leadership style is to make sure that I support my team, and that it's the communication is very important. So I would say that communication and hard work and determination makes a great leader, because you want your staff to, see that, hey, you are, I am giving as much as I am asking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I always think, make sure that I'm not going too fast for folks. So I always ask for, feedback.
Good.
What worked, what didn't. And then if they tell me you're moving way too fast for me, then I need to slow down, because sometimes for me, I move very fast.
Yes.
So
I would say my staff would appreciate it if I would hang out with you more and learn more of that skill set. It is what I'm working on. What are you working on with leadership?
You know what? I am learning to make sure I continue to give grace to not only my staff, but to myself as well. Because one thing that sometimes, leaders being in the role that we are doing, it is just a role, right? It doesn't define who we are, but giving yourself grace to get to that next space or whatever it is that you're reaching for is very important. Because, me being kind of like a quasi perfectionist.
Yes.
It's like I need to make sure that it's perfect before I do something. And sometimes you don't need it to be perfect. Sometimes it just needs to get out there. And then if it's not right, then you pivot, and so that's what I'm working on.
And so I guess my next question was, what is your greatest challenge with your current role? I don't know if part of that is, or just more operationally things that you're...
I think the greatest challenge right now is in healthcare. We are just trying to swim,
right,
because of COVID and the restrictions, and and then I think the other challenge is that in healthcare, you cannot pass on increased costs to patients. Because, as an organization, we've already negotiated our contracts with insurance companies to say this is what we'll accept. And those are done, 2 to 3 years in advance.
right,
So inflation and all those factors that
aren't
really
factored in.
they're not factored in. And those costs, you have to kind of go back to the insurance payer and to say, we need to renegotiate this because we need to, continue to be independent. We don't want to belong to a large conglomerate,
right,
or a large health system. So how do you support independent physician groups, to stay independent? Because in the end, it's the independent practices that are really trying to reduce the total cost of care. And we have the ability to do that. So that's a real challenge.
Yeah. The Therese 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If you could tell her something, provide her insight, lessons, or just kudos, you're doing great. What kinds of things might you say to yourself 20 years ago?
I'll go back even a little further.
Okay.
So in my grad school, I was interviewed by the American College of Healthcare Executives. That magazine they distribute on a quarterly basis to all healthcare leaders, and that's how I actually got my first job as a fellow with.
Okay.
California, because in Chicago, going out to California is going to be a difficult path, right?
Yes.
But because I was highlighted in this magazine, one of the questions the interviewer asked was, where do you see yourself in the future? And I said, and I remember this quote, one day I would really love to run a medical group. And it has come full circle.
Put that into motion.
Yes. And literally this job is, again, it's a calling. Because I work with such, high integrity, very much heart for service. I mean, every physicians, every partner shareholder that I work with, they understand about, doing service, providing service with their head, heart, and hands.
Yes.
And that's how my leadership is. My leadership is all about leading with your head, your heart, and your hands.
I love that.
Yeah.
Has that been said before?
Huh?
Has that been said before? I love that. I've heard head and heart. I don't know that I had the hands part in there. I like that.
Yeah. It has been said.
Okay, you didn't
I didn't make
just
that
point
up
out
myself. No,
Okay. I like to grab stuff and run with it. So
it is so true, right? Because the
Yeah.
hands are the things that you're doing. But yeah, your head and your heart, it's a given. But it's your hands that really makes everything the way it should be. So
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun?
So let's see. I love to play tennis.
Oh, okay.
And I've been playing tennis since high school. But I have not picked up a tennis racket in about a year and a half. During COVID, you couldn't go to, a tennis club to play. And so my husband and I play every now on, in the outdoor courts. But man, we're getting old. My shoulders
if you
hurting.
keep playing tennis, you'll stay young, right?
Yes.
But it is.
But his
everything's
shoulders
a little
hurting.
harder. Yes. We got aches and pains.
It's the recovery period that is very hard.
Yes.
So it used to be I can play tennis, pretty much all day. But now I can play for a couple hours and I can't move the next day.
Yes. Well, I love that you're also one of the board directors that shows up for all the fun events too. So you're social and you like to be out there. And
I do.
I love it.
Yeah.
What would you say are some other leadership roles you have outside of your job? So you serve on our board of directors for just over a year now for the chamber. What other leadership roles do you have?
So I also serve as a board of trustees for the Pierce College district.
Yes.
That is such a wonderful organization. And, education, as you know, is my passion.
Yes, yes.
And I...
Now that makes more sense.
Right?
Because you had, when we were speaking to you about being on this board,
yes,
you mentioned a lot about education, and
right
now on this Pierce College board as well. This makes sense.
Thank you. And again, every time I get involved in something, I always ask myself, will I make a difference? If I can't make a difference either with my passion or with my experience or something, and if I can't answer yes to that, then it's just not right. So when I, took on this role at Sound Family,
Yes.
that is one question I ask, and I mull that over and over, and it just kept coming back. Yes, so it is a calling, being in education and all those things. So,
if you could offer one pro tip and one personal tip, what might you impart on these folks today?
Oh man, that's a hard question.
I always share my personal tip is get an air Dyson. I'm just in love with the air Dysons and what it can do from wet hair to curls in 5 minutes. And I had one in my office just before this meeting today. So
perfect. Let's see. Pro tip on a professional basis. I always say, don't burn your bridges.
Good one. Very good one.
Yeah, because the people that you have connected with or whatever, no matter what role they play in your past, it's always going to be something in your future that you're going to look back and go, oh man, I need that person, or don't call that person. You know what I mean? But don't burn your bridges.
Yeah, I like it.
And then my personal tip would be, let's see. I think, I guess it's more personal for me, is that when I first came to this country, I was not accepted. And so it was very hard, to have people make fun of you. I mean, just because you look different, and so on a personal basis, I would say, just love who you are, because you are just one of many special, creatures that God have created. And so that's what I would say.
I think that's a great thing to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
And so since this is the C-Suite podcast, what's your favorite suite?
What's my favorite suite?
We do a little play on words with sweet. So
my favorite suite is
SWEET.
I know.
Not, at the Fairmont or
no, my favorite sweet is probably ice cream.
Oh yes. Yum, yum, yum.
I
Do you
can
have a
eat
favorite
ice cream.
flavor?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Baskin Robbins. Pralines and cream.
I was going to say, don't say pralines and cream. That's my favorite as well. Oh, yeah.
I go to pralines. I mean, I go to Baskin Robbins for the last, I don't know how many years, decades.
Yeah.
And I would try, different flavors. I always order pralines and cream.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, I
agree.
cannot.
I have that
get away
same.
from that.
Oof.
Okay, good.
And then I guess, again, playing on words, who is your sweet tea?
My sweet tea is my husband.
Yes.
Steve and I have been married for 28 years.
Oh, love it.
And yeah, we met down in California.
Okay.
This
he
is my
does look
hotel.
like a and he even looks like the guy from the Eagles. This makes sense now. This is all coming together.
I love doing karaoke with Hotel California.
Oh, yes. I hear you're pretty good at it.
I try.
Aww.
But yeah, my sweetie is been 28 years married, but I've known him for 32 years.
And you said sawmill background, or what was the connection with the sawmill earlier you mentioned?
Yeah, so his family have been in this community, Puyallup Sumner, for, oh my gosh, almost 100 years, I think.
Wow.
At least, like that long.
Yes.
But they own a sawmill down in Sumner, and right before COVID, they sold it.
Oh, okay.
So, man, that we felt like what a blessing.
Yeah.
Right?
Fortuitous timing.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, nice. And you have children?
I do. I have 2 boys.
Oh,
Nick is almost 25, graduated from UW,
wonderful.
and he works in Seattle now in software sales.
Okay.
And then Bo is almost 23, and he'll be graduating from college here next month.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Good job. Good
Thank
job,
you.
Mom, Dad.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
last
very proud.
question here. Where do you see yourself in? I'll give that 5 to 10 year window in case there's a.
Hopefully retired.
okay, good. Fair enough. Will you be retiring in the area or leaving? Or who knows?
We are pretty much entrenched in this Puyallup community
Yes.
now for 25 years.
Yes.
And so I don't see us really leaving the state of Washington because my husband's family's from this area.
Yes.
But what I see ourselves doing is probably being snowbirds down to California.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love it.
I know.
Well, good. Well, I'm so grateful to, that you're on our board of directors.
Aw.
I'm grateful that you're a friend. I'm grateful that you're a pillar in this community.
Oh,
And
thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Signing off.